Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Rick Santorum, by the way, coming up at the bottom of the hour. He will weigh in on what Bill Clinton had to say, and we'll also talk to him about Iran. But joining us now is our friend, John Fund. He is a national affairs columnist at National Review. Hello, John.
Pleasure. Thank you, Steve.
Always a pleasure on my end as well. Okay, you wrote a great piece at National Review online talking about some of the findings of our friend James O'Keefe, who will join us tomorrow. But it speaks exactly to what Senator Cornyn asked Kathleen Sebelius at the hearing last week, which is what we just played. And it was picked up a little bit by the mainstream media, but to me, this is maybe the most disturbing of all, next to the fact that people are going to be denied health care, is that convicted felons could have access by her own admission to your personal records, your Social Security number, everything.
Well, it's passing strange that the Obama administration would not have a requirement for any federal criminal background checks, because just 3 years ago they conducted a U.S. census, hired 1.4 million people, and every one of those had to go through fingerprinting and background checks, and they only had access to how many people were in someone's home. They didn't have access to the Federal Data Hub, which is the biggest conglomeration of data on Americans like the ones in your audience that has ever been created. And to not have safeguards is just mind-boggling. I mean, Michael Astor, the former general counsel of the Health and Human Services Department and former commissioner of Social Security until earlier this year, says this could be the greatest breach of privacy in American history.
Well, yeah, and I think it all speaks or makes sense when you read your column today and talk about what James O'Keefe has uncovered through his undercover work with a camera, known as a videographer, and he's done it again, and he went into, for instance, a Texas Navigator site run by the National Urban League. There are also Navigator sites run by offshoots of, if not, because Acorn is defunct, but offshoots of Acorn. So these are groups that are getting millions and millions and millions of dollars to act as navigators. They're left-wing groups, and maybe that's exactly why Barack Obama didn't put that in the law.
Well, he certainly has a lot of friends that are, shall we say, sloppy or suspect. Remember, Obama himself was a former lawyer and trainer for Acorn, and he has a soft spot in his heart for community organizing groups. Well, some of these community organizing groups are fine, but others, very sketchy. I mean, if you look at this video, I mean, the navigators in this video tell people don't report cash income, so your subsidies for Obamacare will go up. Don't say you're a smoker. Lie about being a smoker, so you don't have to pay a higher premium. Don't put stuff on your tax returns because they'll ask you questions about it. In other words, these are people we are paying up to $48 an hour. The navigators are not badly paid, up to $48 an hour, and they're been trained to uphold the law. And on this video, they're breaking the law. And by the way, this is not the only video Mr. O'Keefe has, and Texas is not the only state in which he has taken a look at this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. As he has done with all the videos, he has multiple endeavors that are repetitive in nature, where the same thing goes on. Endeavors that are repetitive in nature, where the same thing goes on.
Was hilarious. He said there is no fraud in Obamacare, and so Mary Catherine Ham of Hot Air said, "What? That we just watched the fraud? It's on tape." and one woman's response was, "But it's so small." Yeah, but what if it happens a second, a third, and other times?
Yeah, I know. It's like Al Sharpton saying there's no voter fraud. None. There's no evidence of voter fraud, period.
Well, listen, when it comes to fraud, he is an expert on that.
And in all seriousness, you're the expert on voter fraud because you've done the writing on that.
And my book, if you want to give me a plug,
go ahead.
Who's Counting? How Fraudsters and Bureaucrats Put Your Vote at Risk.
Absolutely.
And it is all the more timely given how close races were last Tuesday, like the Virginia Attorney General's race.
Absolutely. All right. Now, what do you think of what Bill Clinton said today, coming out and saying in an interview on Aussie.com, whatever that is, that President Obama should keep his promise, and those people should be able to keep their health insurance, the ones that have lost it, even if it means changing the law? Was that a dig, a message from Hillary? Was that something orchestrated by the White House? What do you think?
Well, it certainly wasn't orchestrated by the White House, because it puts the president in an extremely uncomfortable position, because it's very difficult for him to change the law administratively through some executive order. He's probably going to have to go to Congress. He might even, Steve, he might even have to negotiate with those evil Republicans.
The hostage takers.
I mean, imagine, he'd have to talk to them. He'd have to invite them over. He'd have to actually deal with them.
Oh my
No,
goodness.
seriously, Bill Clinton. It's pretty well known that even though they've patched things up in public, that you could walk through Bill Clinton's deepest affection for Barack Obama and not get your ankles wet.
I like the way you put it. Yeah, that was evidence in many things he said during the campaign. Of course, a Chicago street thug politician.
You know the phrase passive aggressive.
Yeah.
That describes their relationship.
Well, we'll see how this all gets handled by the White House, and you got Dick Durbin now saying that Clinton might be right. So we'll see where it's headed. But great work, great column today. Check it out. Yeah, go ahead.
It could go to nationalreview.com. It's also at the top of the Drudge Report.
Yes, I was just gonna tell him about the nationalreview.com, but it is linked on Drudge. Thank you, my friend. We'll speak to you soon.
Take care.
John Fund, ladies and gentlemen, national affairs columnist at National Review, and of course a friend of the show, a contributor to Newsmax and all that other great stuff. But if you could walk through the affection that Obama has for Clinton without getting your or Clinton has for Obama, probably both, without getting your pants too wet or your ankles. I like that. I like that very much. When we come back, we will get the opinion of former presidential candidate Rick Santorum, a man who just said the other day he won't decide until next year as to whether or not he's going to run in 2016. He also is president of a wonderful movie studio now, and there's a movie coming out all about Christmas, and we'll talk to him about that as well. All that straight ahead. Your phone calls, your input, always welcome on the Steve Malzberg Show. 877-NEWSMAX, 877-639-7629, 877-639-7629, right here on the very popular Steve Malzberg Show.